Guys, I think that they should persevere with this round. It's just been unlucky this year. Last year was sort of jammed in because the NRL played over in Vegas. This year the Vegas show was unbelievable for Peter V'landys and his team. But this is something that could happen going forward. So this is an alternative, maybe in 2 years' time, maybe next year. But State of Origin is back on the table. The players have said, yes, they're keen. And there is talk, serious talk, about making this a big game, a blockbuster game. And I want to get your thoughts on the pre-season in a moment, how this could fit in as a pre-season series. So Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, and the Indigenous All-Stars has just been an unbelievable success. If you didn't want to have what we have at the moment, the way to sort of counteract the success of what the NRL is doing is to go all out and break all records in round one. So go Carlton-Richmond on the Thursday. It could be a game on the Wednesday. But Carlton-Richmond, say St Kilda, Collingwood, that gets 85-90. Essendon, Hawthorn, 90,000. Sydney and GWS. Brisbane and Gold Coast. And then the other teams are like that. I've swapped over the Adelaide and West Australian games so you can hold the showdowns and those for later on. But if you notice there, what it is all Melbourne clubs play each other in round one, because we're all gagging for the footy to go and see it, and that would be a huge thing. So what we can drop the graphic now. You get to a situation there where that is almost the biggest round of football in the world that weekend. It gives the AFL something to go back on against the NRL.
Well, you've never had 500,000 people attend a round across ever in the AFL. That has the potential to have 500,000 people or close to come to opening round, which is a huge way to kick off the year. There's always a lull in Melbourne, that late February time. So get those state games away, then get that opening round away. I think it's a great way to start the season, kick it off with a bang. And
there's a make good for the northern states, because the whole idea of this was to give the focus to the northern states. So we're not trying to knock that on the head. But for at the moment, Collingwood and Brisbane, or Brisbane and Collingwood play on the Thursday before Easter, so Holy Thursday. And what you could possibly do then is say get Essendon or another big club to play the Gold Coast. Stay up there over Easter break and bring the Essendon Army, the Collingwood Army up, and then flip the rounds. And that becomes a self-contained gather round. Do the same in Sydney with GWS and the Sydney Swans and 2 other teams, so that they still get that big focus. Now, is it the same as what we've got? I'll tell you the reason why this has worked so well. If we can put up the Telegraph from today in Sydney, this is what it looks like, the Sydney Telegraph today. And it hasn't come up, but it's what is a full page Sydney Swans front page, which you normally wouldn't get. Now, I'm tipping that the AFL paid for it or used Contra or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, that's what you do. That's the commercial realities. But that has been able to get through the clutter. So Andrew Pridham and Dave Matthews, this is what they want to do. But ultimately, I think there's a way now to go back and say, well, forget about the stuff that NRL are doing. Let's just us line ourselves up one way or the other. I'm not fussed, but there's a couple of options on the table.
Well, the Swans worked from having the opening round last year, and then really the Swans fans all year. It was packed stadiums, the SCG. So it really worked in Sydney last year. The follow on this year. How would Adelaide handle the Melbourne-centric side of that?
I think you could almost add a showdown in there just to get 50,000 people, and the same for a derby over in WA. But it's interesting, Ed, the last point you made is we can't be too focused on the NRL and what they do and chasing our tails there. And I'm probably the opposite with a State of Origin. I just think as soon as you get a key player injured, and we've already seen the commentary around the pre-season being a little disjointed, that might add something into it too. I don't know when the players will train, but you mentioned about paying the players too, which would be a huge incentive. But for me, I think we do the year so well. We do finals incredibly well. The NRL can have their State of Origin, but for us, the whole season is basically a State of Origin, I think, with our crowds.
I disagree, only because you look at what the NBA All-Star Game has done for NBA players, and a lot of AFL players look at NBA and say, well, we want to be part of that. And I think the state game now has just got a bit more cachet than what it had back. Certainly in my day. In my day, players didn't want to play it at all. It was sort of done. But it's come back on the agenda, and you hear every player. I know injuries come in, but you hear every player talk now, and there is an optimism or a positivity about it they haven't seen for a long time.
So the players cracking in, though?
Yeah, well, the discussion is that they're getting injured anyway. There's less chance probably of getting injured if you're playing top-class players who can hit you on the chest rather than some buffalo who comes in from...
Careful. Don't mention the VFL. I know what you're going to say.
No, I'm not going to go to the VFL.
Good. Just be careful.
I don't know anyone coming from Port Melbourne coming in and hitting
we'll knock a few out of
hitting the good people. But the point being is that this is something... The game has to develop. The world's coming at us. We've got the NFL coming to town in 18 months' time. We can't just be happy-go-lucky domestic competition. We actually have to step up into the real world. And don't forget, Foxtel's no longer owned by the Murdochs. You know, DAZN is they are looking at what's the big ticket item. 3 State of Origins, grand final. Now we're playing in the NRL in Vegas. What have you guys got? Well, the home and away season for us is a P. We've got to really ramp that up. But if there is an opportunity to do something in the pre-season, rather than watch blokes run around playing in community series and all that sort of rubbish, let's get stuck into it.
No doubt there's a lull. There's a lull between, you know, in February, people want football. If we can give them football, I think we should be able to play it.